Okay, well, let's see if we've got anything at all working. Well, it looks like we might have audio. Okay. Maybe not video. Oh yeah, no, it's just really bad. Okay. Well, hi everybody. It's Scott here, since you probably can't see me very well. And I've got my telescope pointed at the moon. And with any luck, we will get to see the SpaceX rocket crash into the moon in about 15, 16 minutes or so. So, there we go. I'm using a portable telescope for this. Here, I'm just going to turn the camera off. There we go. Using a portable telescope because, unfortunately, this event happens exactly through my neighbor's tree from my, what I would say my permanent backyard setup is. And so I had to relocate to the other side of the yard, and I'm also playing dodge it with a street light. But, you know, these are the things you gotta do. So here we are looking at the moon. It's sort of close to last quarter, not quite last quarter, but pretty nice. It's risen a little higher now, and so it's a little bit better than it was. It was really rippling around a lot of turbulence in the atmosphere. Now, what I'm going to try and do here, we're going to zoom into zoom in a little bit like that. We'll tour around the interesting part of the moon, the part where the shadow is. This is called the terminator. That's like the line between day and night. And that's where you can see all the 3D stuff because of the long shadows. So there we've got the lunar Apennine Mountains there, right on the edge, that long sort of line of lumpy stuff. And then on the left is some of the Maria, the flat lava plains with only a few craters. And most of these craters have names, and we'll get to a few of them as the show goes on. But the main feature is that when you're looking at the moon, full moon's actually not the best time to look because there's no shadows, and you really see a lot more detail when you're looking at the shadowy area, especially when we start to go down towards the southern area of the moon, which we'll do here. The southern highlands, they're called. There's just a lot more craters and a lot more overlapping craters and things like that. The north part of the moon, there's all those sort of dark, smooth areas and so on. There's some of that down south too, but the southern pole of the moon, which is right down in the, do I have a cursor here? Let's see if I have a cursor here. I do not. I don't know if you can see that or not, but right down here is the South Pole. And let's see if I can get my thing back here. It's pretty rugged terrain, and some of those craters right at the edge there do not ever get sunshine in the bottom of them. Now when we start to look at the part of the moon that is, let me bring this back here, the part of the moon that is more lit up by the sun, it's not, you know, the sunrise kind of area, but the area where the sun is high overhead, you don't get those kinds of shadows and contrast and things like that. You get a very, taking a little difficulty steering here. There we go. Now I can adjust the contrast here a little bit. Let's maybe do that and see if we get a slightly better view. There we go. And this is kind of the area that we're looking at. These gray areas are the maria or seas, and those are the things that people used to think were, oceans. Well, they're not. They're just flat lava plains, and you can see all sorts of craters and sort of rays emanating out from them, all sorts of material that has been splashed out by the impact. So that's what we're hoping to see today, is an impact. Now, unfortunately, we're not going to see a crater as big as these. These ones are 10, 100 kilometers across, depending on which one we're looking at. The crater that we're going to, that's going to get made tonight by the rocket, it will be about 17 meters. So that's just a little bit smaller than the planetarium dome downtown. So not a very large crater at all. And because of that, we're probably not going to see the impact itself. The impact is going to happen right in about here. And let me see if I can actually get my cursor rolling here or not. See if I move this over a bit. Yes, I do have a cursor on the screen. Okay, good. So I'll just know that it's there and ignore trying to look for it. Okay. So the area that we're looking at is kind of, let me see, over in this direction here. There's a couple of white craters right here and here, and sort of if you make a triangle between those two craters and the edge of the moon, so right in about there, that's the area where the impact is predicted to occur. It occurs just almost right on the edge of the moon. But here, let's change our contrast a little bit better here. Let's see what we can do here. I'm just manually adjusting all the different parameters on the thing because there's not really a set right number for this. But basically, I should be able to see the little white part of that crater a little better. There we go. Okay, so these are those two craters that I mentioned, and up above it is sort of this little hook structure. That's the thing that I'm using as the reference. So we've got this little hook structure, we've got these two craters, and then right near the edge of the moon there's a little bright spot, and just beside that is where the impact is predicted to happen. The Einstein crater is right beside that little white dot. And here, you'll notice the telescope is not tracking perfectly. This is a Dobsonian telescope that has motors in it, but because of where I have to put it, I can't actually see much of the sky to do an alignment on it. So we're running a little rough today, but still it's kind of a nice view. So we have about 7 minutes before the impact is predicted to happen. Theoretically, when the impact happens, we might see a flash on the moon, like a little white dot that appears and disappears, which is the actual impact. But then over the next minute, and this is the part that it's more likely that we'll see, there will be a plume of material that goes from the impact point and basically goes straight up relative to the moon's surface, so perpendicular to the edge of the moon. And if it goes high enough, it'll go beyond the edge of the moon, and we might have a chance to see it. To be honest, it's very likely that we, with our small telescope, will not see anything. But there are big telescopes around the world that are also watching this to try and get a good view of this, because, while the event itself is not a planned event, it's just SpaceX not taking care of its garbage properly, and so it's going to crash into the moon, we can at least use that as if it was a scientific experiment, and by measuring how high the rocks go into the air and how long the plume lasts and how much dust is kicked up, and then how big the crater is later on after we can see which one is new from the orbiter imaging and stuff like that, we can learn a little bit more about the moon. For me, it's actually kind of a bittersweet kind of event. I think it's cool to see if we can see these things in our backyard telescopes. I'm always surprised by what we can actually see from the backyard with just very simple equipment. And this is one of those challenging observations. It will be challenging because it's happening on the bright side of the moon. And so there's a lot of, glare basically that will block our view a little bit. But we're going to see what happens. We've got about 6 minutes or so. And so one of the things that I'm doing here, I'll show you the whole frame. This is the whole frame of the moon, and so I'm going to record a sequence of that before the impact so that we can later on subtract that out to see if we can detect any of the plume later. But then we're also going to crank up the exposure so that we overexpose the moon, but hopefully we'll be able to see the plume properly. Anyway, it's a little bit of a toss-up. There's a couple of folks out there as well. I know the Deep Sky Eye Observatory out in the Maritimes is doing a live stream, and Chris Kerwin over at Astronomy by the Bay in New Brunswick is live streaming as well. And I think Frank in Edmonton is maybe doing a live stream. I'm not sure. So there are a few other places. If you were to just look for live streams that are active right now on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, I'm sure you would find other people that are observing. But yeah, if you're here, thanks for joining us. It's nice to have a few folks online and just hang out and chat a little bit. If anybody has any questions, feel free to throw stuff into the chat. Oh, hey, Ben. Oh, and Dave from Nova Scotia. Is it cloudy out that way? I hope you guys didn't get fully clouded out. But yeah, because I know that there's at least 2 live streams going from out there. Ben, is it monochrome or the reason why it's green? Yeah, so I am using a color camera, but I didn't really balance the color or anything like that. I basically just slapped it on, and any adjustments or things like that will get done after the fact. So essentially, it's the other thing is that my whole screen is covered with red plastic right now so that I don't lose my night vision, and so I can't really see what the colors look like anyway. So after the fact, I'll balance things out and make a nice, pretty picture of it. Okay, I'm gonna throw a little recording on here, just so that we get some of our pre-exposure stuff, so that we can sort of have a baseline of what it looks like before. And while we're doing that, I'll just zoom this in again a little bit. So there's that hook that we're talking about, and let me see. That hook is Eddington crater. It's sort of one rim of it is almost eroded away and covered up by the lava flow, but so that's Eddington. And Stellarium tells me that these other 2 craters we've been using are Kraft, named for Chris Kraft from NASA, and Cardanus, named for someone else that I don't know. But those have been sort of my reference points. And then the little bright spot that's in the view here is Einstein crater. So right around there is where we expect to see the impact. Now it could be off by a little bit. We're coming up to only a couple of minutes away, and so I'm going to make sure we're back in the frame, and there we go. Like I say, the chances of us seeing this live are pretty remote, but what else are you going to do on a Wednesday night or Thursday morning at 1:30 in the morning? The seeing is not great. I was hoping to do this from our astronomy club's observatory, but unfortunately the dome motor is out of commission, and so we can't open the dome. So I'm just in the backyard, and I'm looking over my neighbor's garage, and there's a little bit of turbulence, but like I say, not too bad. All right. I think what we're going to do here, though, is we are going to pick a smaller area and maybe just turn up the gain a little bit here so that we can start to see. That's too much, obviously. There we go. I don't want to overexpose, but at the same time, any ejecta, any plume or anything like that is likely to be quite a bit fainter than the surface of the moon itself. So it's only if it sticks out will we see it, and I'm not sure if we'll see it with all the glare. So we're just gonna start recording again here and just see what we get. So again, there's Eddington Crater, the Hook, and Kraft and Cardanus. There's Einstein Crater, and so the impact is sort of right in there somewhere. The impact itself, like I say, likely to be invisible, but it's possible that there will be a plume of ejecta material that will shoot up from there and extend out into space, in theory. I know it looks like I'm moving this around too much, but it is still within the frame that I'm recording, and trying to keep it kind of centered for you, but at the same time, I mostly want to make sure that it's in a spot that we can properly record any kind of stuff. So the plume should have, the impact should have occurred by now. I'm just going to try a little up the gain to see if there's anything sticking out over the edge of the moon there. Yeah, I sure don't see. Yeah, even if I blow the gain right out, I sure don't see anything obviously sticking out. Now maybe once I subtract the moon's surface, like the basic stuff, maybe there will be something there. But we're a minute and a half past the predicted time of impact, and I certainly didn't see anything obvious going on there. Let's bring this down again. So again, there we go, centered for you. There's Eddington Crater, Kraft, and Cardanus, and there's Einstein Crater in there. I don't think I see really a whole lot of detail at all. There's a few frames that pop in there that look like maybe they're clear, but there's a lot of turbulence. I think one of the things that I'll do here, I guess I have to stop recording for that, is to switch to a smaller area and just center that smaller area. And where'd you go? There you went. It can read out the chip faster this way. Maybe we'll get to see. Oh. Okay, so again, Eddington Crater, the Hook. There's Kraft and Cardanus. There's Einstein Crater, that little bright spot there. Yeah, I mean, there are a few frames coming in there. We're shooting at about 30 frames a second right now. And, oops. A little bit of dimming there. Yeah, I'm not convinced that there's any difference visually. But, you know, so it's 4 minutes past. Certainly the plume should have become visible by now if it was going to. So I'm going to say that, you know, I didn't see anything live. I will process these images and take a look to see if, you know, maybe it's there and we just can't see it because the settings for the TV view is just not great. But it'll be interesting to see if anybody got a chance to see it, and hopefully we'll be able to figure out a little bit of science from this, like I say, kind of unfortunate waste of or poor caretaking of the space environment by private corporations. It's a good thing we don't have moon bases on the moon, because, you know, if getting there puts all these boosters up and we wind up, you know, having all of these hazards have to be dealt with in the future, it's not the best way to go about going back to the moon. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it here because I think we've got nothing else going on that we can see. Thanks for joining me, everybody that was here. Nice to see you all. We'll compare notes tomorrow after a little bit of sleep. Oh, I just got a plane going over right now. Okay, so thanks again, everybody. Good night, and we'll see you.